Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Christal. Remember, I'm your business coach when it's time to attain your financial and revenue goals as in your career as well as in your business. And I do that by way of mindset and time management coaching. Now, I'm your life coach for those of you needing general life coaching as well as boundaries in your platonic and romantic relationships. If you're just coping in toxic relationships, there's a better way, my friend. Let me help you heal and thrive and stand in your own power within your relationships. All right, everyone, today's episode is very special. I'm recording this intro to an interview that I did with someone who has really become a close friend over the last couple of years, Luis Baez. He is a sales coach expert. He's worked with Tesla, Google, LinkedIn, and he decided to step out on faith, start his own business. He's been in business for a few years now already, and he is a sales coach expert. So, for those of you who are in business, this is really going to be a treat because he's going to show us specifically how to impress, inspire, influence, and then invite in our audiences. So, this is definitely that episode you want to take notes on. So, if you're exercising or driving, just bookmark this episode. Make sure you come back to it because he is going to deliver tons of value. And I really love just his mission in regards to making sales not about this slimy, unethical, gross interaction that we have with one another. And he really does it in a way to allow you to be comfortable selling your products and services. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and get off of this intro. And now you can listen to my conversation with Luis. Thank you so much. Right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. And thank you so much for tuning in to Luis Keeps It Real. I am your host, Luis Baez. This podcast is dedicated to the person that you'll become on the path to pursuing your biggest dreams. And I am super excited today. We're switching up the format of the traditional podcast. I've got a guest here today, a lovely, lovely person that I'm very excited to introduce you to. But we're going to do things a little differently. Rather than me putting my guest in the hot seat, my guest is putting me in the hot seat. She's prepared a list of questions. She is ready to dig in, get real, spill the tea, and we are here for all of it. My friend Christal Allen Harrowhill is a mom, wife, and native to Las Vegas, Nevada. She's been in the online business space since 2014, and she currently serves as a mindset, business, and life coach. Prior to entrepreneurship, she spent years in the higher education sector. Christal enjoys spending time with friends and family, as well as cooking for them. And in nice weather, she enjoys hiking, kayaking, and family road trips. She's got a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in educational leadership, and she is currently in the process of finishing her life coach certification. Welcome, Christal.
Thank you, Lise. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. When I put the word out that I was going to do this, you were one of the first people to jump on it. I am so, so excited to connect with you. And I am going to sit back. I'm going to be the interviewee. The microphone is yours. For the rest of the show, it is the Christal Allen Harrowhill Show.
Let's roll. Okay, so today's topic is self promotion. And I know that you hear this a lot with your audience as well. And we typically hear people say, I'm afraid to put myself out there. That's usually how it comes across, right? But the bottom line, it's self promotion. So we're going to get into some really meaty tips here that I know you're going to share. But first, I want you to share your story with us of leaving corporate. Tesla was the last corporate organization you worked with, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay,
that was the last
so
full-time gig.
why did you leave? Why entrepreneurship?
That's an excellent question. So I have to say that entrepreneurship came before my departure. So I had been sort of consulting on the side and side hustling while holding down corporate jobs for a few years before that moment came up. And unbeknownst to me, this accidental entrepreneurship really just came out of a place of feeling just like I wasn't empowered in the places that I was working in. I had also been working in startup environments and reached a place while I was at Google where, I was this cog in this bigger machine. There were people who had been with the company for years and years, and that fast growth that I was used to just wasn't practical. And so I
Okay.
got my sort of like intellectual rocks off out of the things that I did outside of my time at Google. Um, and unbeknownst to me, this would put me in a position not only to like have that intellectual outlet, be able to help other people and teach all the things that I'd been learning in my career, but it put me in a position to walk away from companies where I wasn't happy. It put me in a position to turn down opportunities that didn't fit me.
Mhm.
And it put me in a place financially to not need a job at critical moments where those jobs weren't serving my interest. And so
Yes.
fast forward to my time at Tesla, it was a fast changing organization. And I was with the company during some really critical milestones in its growth. And
Mm.
unfortunately, those milestones came with rounds of layoffs and layoffs. And many
Okay.
of my colleagues and friends were no longer with the company. And I didn't want to be on the chopping block. So
Yeah.
I went ahead and I doubled down on my business and I made my exit. And since then, I've been a full time entrepreneur.
Wow, what a beautiful story. And how empowering is it to that you are working your business on the side, and by doing that and not being afraid to put yourself out there, you really
Mhm.
created options. So like
Yeah.
even though you had these great experiences with Google, Tesla, LinkedIn, you still, weren't at their mercy
Mhm.
necessarily. And so,
Exactly.
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
think
changes the mindset of how you show up to in the workplace, right? Like you
yeah.
are more willing to say what needs to be said.
This is true. That is so true. Wow. That alone is should really be encouragement for those listening. Okay. So I want to hear your definition of self-promotion.
Absolutely. When I think of self promotion, I actually think of it in terms of self advocacy. I
Okay.
think that we live in this time with, influencers and the rise of that sort of business model and the way that people engage on social media, et cetera. I think that the term self promotion has become sort of negative in some
Mhm.
conversations, right? Being too narcissistic, being, someone
Right.
that is calling too much attention to themselves and not allowing the spotlight for someone else.
Right.
And the way that I think of like self promotion or self advocacy in particular is, I am someone who is openly gay, Puerto
Mhm.
Rican, urban. I grew up in poverty. I came up. I worked hard. I did the thing.
Right.
Um, and that it required me speaking up for myself in
Yes.
instances where no one else would speak up for me,
Yes.
or in instances where my contributions were diminished.
Mhm.
And sometimes my contributions were all the way reduced and eliminated, right? Or misappropriated at times, right? Those are things that
Yes.
really happen in the
Yes, they
workplace,
do.
right?
Yes.
And so, it was for me, I have had to be that squeaky wheel that gets the oil throughout my entire life.
Mhm.
And I think that that also comes hand in hand with a sense of responsibility because I come from a culture and from a community where we lift each other up. When
Mhm.
one person comes up, we bring our whole squad with us, our whole tribe with us.
That's right.
And so, in this act of self advocacy, I also really try to practice amplification.
Mhm.
So, if someone has helped me, if someone has given advice, maybe not directly to me, but impacted me in some kind of way,
Yeah.
if I see work that I admire, if I see people doing things that really, cause a moment of pause for me, I celebrate that, I amplify that.
Yeah.
And when I have a seat at the table, I don't just go, me, 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 look what I did, look what I accomplished. I
Right.
frame it in terms of like, look what we accomplished. I was able to
Mhm.
do this because so and so came through and delivered on X, Y, and Z for me.
Yes.
Um, and I think that that's how you can um, earn that trust in the
Mhm.
room. That's how you
Right.
can earn that likability and that reputation, but also grow with other people. I am a firm believer that there shouldn't be competition. We grow and we thrive through collaboration. We as
Yes.
humans do so much more together than alone.
Oh,
And
that is
even
so
if you think
true.
about, right, historically, like the people who are, megalomaniacs or self-centered or whatever, those aren't people that we admire, right? We admire
Mhm.
people who do good things for lots of people and bring people
Right.
up with them. And so I try to be
Mhm.
conscious of like, yeah, in terms of my self promotion, yes, a bit of self advocacy, yes, and amplification. We can
Yeah.
all come up together.
Yeah, I love that. And I have to say, Luis, I think we haven't like known, even though we've never met in person, we haven't known each other through the online business space, even though it hasn't been it's probably been about a year since we first connected through a
Yeah.
coaching group. I want to say
Hmm.
that just what I know of you, I think you are living that
Thank
what
you.
you, yes, absolutely. I want to say that because I truly believe it. Okay, so if you're listening, I want to make sure that you're not multitasking. Get a pen and paper because Luis is about to drop some nuggets for us. Okay,
Here we go.
here we go. What are the top three challenges you see entrepreneurs have when it comes to pitching or putting themselves out there?
Mm, wow. Number one, that's an excellent question. Number one, I think, is confidence through taking inventory. I think a
Okay.
lot of times we come to conversations, and my friends and my family in particular, LGBTQIA, BIPOC, women, we come to the conversation through having had these past experiences where we're diminished, where we're devalued, demoralized, and discriminated against. And when it comes time to step into business and to put ourselves out there and to start building a brand, a legacy, and a reputation, we carry some of that with us, and that's really real. And I think that one of the first things that we've got to do is really take inventory of our worth and put it on paper, not just like sit with these thoughts and reflect on where you've worked and what you've done or how much money you've handled, how many, size of a team that you've managed or whatever your
Yeah.
contributions might have been, right? I think you need to sit down and put it on paper and
Mhm.
stack it on paper. Pen to paper, I think, is the best way to move through things, especially when you're doing these kinds of audits and assessments and self reflections,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It needs to be something tangible, not just something in your
Right.
mind.
That's
And
powerful.
so, yeah, step one is take inventory and look at the paper and remove your name from it, right? Like just look
Mhm.
at it and go, wow, this is someone that I would be impressed by. This
Yeah.
is someone that I would trust, I would stand behind. I would be glad to pay this person to
Yeah.
guide me through the process of seeing my goals to
Yeah.
fruition,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that sort of self-realization comes through that first exercise. So step number one for anyone getting started, my biggest piece of
Yeah.
advice is take inventory.
That's so powerful, and I love the idea of don't even put your name on it
Yeah.
because we hold back so much when we have these experiences. We think, "Oh, that's nothing," or, "I don't wanna talk about myself or seem whatever." And
Mhm.
yeah, that's really powerful, and seeing it in black and white right there in front of you, and so that way you can come to the table better equipped to talk about the value that you bring. That is beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that so much. And thank you for providing a fix because for each challenge that you share, first number two
Yeah.
and number three, please provide a fix for each one as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. My next fix is finding community. So the next thing that I think that we as entrepreneurs at every level, every stage, no matter how big or small our businesses are, whether we've got a team of, just us or 50 people, I think we all grapple with doing things in isolation,
Yes.
carrying that responsibility, that burden, that lack of clarity and
Mhm.
certainty, that sense of responsibility over other people's successes, etc.
Yeah.
You cannot do this alone. And
Amen.
nor, right? And no one's going to admire you truly for doing
That's
it alone.
so true. That's such a good point. You don't get like this badge for the one man show, one woman show. Yeah.
Precisely, right? Like, I don't know why people cling to that, but I think that you need to welcome and invite community. Do not build alone. I'm not saying go out and hire people if that's not in your budget. That's not what I'm
Mhm.
suggesting. I'm suggesting find a community of other entrepreneurs,
Right.
whether they are in your industry or not,
Mhm.
as long as they're engaging in your business model somehow, that you
Right.
can learn from. It's
Yeah.
people that you can collaborate with, people that you can share and bounce ideas off of, but also people that are going to validate and assure you
Yeah.
that you ain't crazy for doing what you're
Right.
doing and pursuing what you're pursuing, because sometimes it can feel that way.
It
And
can. Yeah.
right, you
Yeah.
understand that firsthand. You're a business person as well.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's important. So I say find community. And there's so many opportunities for that. If you don't have budget, there are plenty of free communities, right?
Absolutely.
If you've got the budget to pay for community and group coaching and accountability, yes, put that down. That is
Yeah.
one of the greatest investments that you can make. Yes, we all want personalized, individualized attention. We
Mhm.
would all benefit from a one-on-one coaching experience and engagement, but don't wait until you have the funds for that to seek the
Mhm.
help and seek the
Yes.
community.
Yes.
I think
I
that's
love
really important.
I love that so much because going back to your first point of just finding community, there's someone listening right now who has a spouse, a significant other, a friend, or a family member who does not believe in them and what they're
Mm,
doing.
yes,
They're
that's real.
You share this business idea or this passion that you have, and they're like, what are you talking about? Just stick to stick to your job or stick to whatever. You can't make money that way, just kind of feeding like that negative talk. And so you really do have to have a community of people who are like-minded in the sense, like you're saying, that they understand this journey that you're about to go on. And I also love the second thing that you mentioned about people will say, okay, I want to wait until I have enough money to have a coach or have a group coaching experience to get like support. And I so agree with that. You get yourself in a position where you invest in yourself and your business in those things, and they take you to that next level so much quicker than you could do it alone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It really, it's
Yeah.
really important. We can't
Yes.
build great things alone. We don't build houses by ourselves,
Right.
right? Right. It's not a one person operation to get that foundation down and every
That's
brick
so true.
laid and everything, right? So why do we approach business that way?
I,
Especially when we all aspire to a legacy or, something that has greater impact beyond ourselves or our communities, right? We
yeah.
we can't get to that level alone. It's
Yeah.
not possible. And
That's so
so I get that. I understand, especially in the context of American capitalism and
true.
self-determinism and all these things. Again, we're all, taught to like, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and do
Yeah.
the thing, etc. But as an entrepreneur, that narrative that doesn't apply to you. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with breaking the mold as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur at every turn.
I love that. I love that. That's so powerful. All right, we're ready for number three.
Number three is, I think, the most like the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit, and the most important thing
Mhm.
is as an entrepreneur, we already talked about building in a silo, being
Mhm.
the person carrying this responsibility and this sense of urgency, etc. Find that community. That's really
Mhm.
important, but also be nurturing your mind. The things that you reflect on, the things that permeate in your thoughts,
Mhm.
those things are that narrative that's on replay,
Yeah.
that could be what makes or breaks. And I invite people this day and age to embrace whatever your learning style is. If it's
Mhm.
watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, reading books,
Yes.
talking it out in groups, whatever it might be
Mhm.
looking to infuse your mind with new ideas,
Yeah.
new experiences, new conversations,
Mhm.
because you will be surprised at the kinds of apples that will fall on your head
Yeah.
when you take a moment outside of your business, right? Like I feel like my apples come to me or fall on my head when I'm just away from the computer and I'm cooking. I
Oh,
often reflect on, oh, I love
okay.
cooking.
Me too. That's
when
good.
I'm, yes, if I, didn't need to work and produce and do all the things, if I was all the way retired, I'd just be hosting dinner parties all the time. Like I love trying new recipes. I love gathering with people. I love that
Yeah.
smile on their face, that look of satisfaction as they're
Yeah.
tasting what I've created with my own bare hands, etc. I
Yeah.
love that. I love it so much, and I watch a lot of cooking shows.
Oh gosh, you're talking my language here. Yes. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I just went through a binge of the Great British Baking Show on Netflix.
Ah.
Yeah, I just binged
Okay.
on like 3 seasons back to back.
Did you really? Okay, so do you prefer to bake over like traditional cooking?
I prefer to cook. I'm really
Okay.
trying to embrace baking. So this
Okay.
show is definitely like, okay, I've sat down in the kitchen, done the recipe. I put some gougères together, these like little cheesy pastries. I've
That's fancy.
really, right, I'm trying to up level myself.
I love
And I'm also embracing my strengths. My strengths are not baking.
Okay. Okay. Right now, you're getting there though. I love
I
that.
am. I am. I'm having fun with it. But I often, when I'm cooking or preparing something, I reflect on business or I
Yeah.
reflect on different businesses. So, like when I make my coffee in the morning, I
Mhm.
really do. I know this sounds cheesy, but I do meditate on like, wow, like the coffee beans were produced and who produced them and how
Mhm.
they got to my kitchen counter and the coffee, the sugar, the milk, the everything. And then I start reflecting on all these different industries and trends and
Mhm.
histories and things like that, and a
Mhm.
lot of times reflecting on food or the preparation on food or the way that ingredients come together, they're prepared
Yes.
separately and then come together. A lot of that reminds me of business or doing business. And I reflect on that when I'm in the kitchen. That's where I get my space and my grace away
Mhm.
from being on the screen. And that's when those new ideas and those new thoughts come into mind.
Yeah.
For other people, it might be as simple as reading a book or
Right.
jumping into a discussion, right? Where there's so
Mhm.
many opportunities to connect with people and learn new things in businesses and industries other than your own. So
Yeah.
that would be my other thing is like, definitely beyond finding community and beyond finding that clarity, doing that
Yeah.
inventory at the onset,
Yes.
also commit yourself to being a student for the rest
Yeah.
of your life.
That is so important. And I love
Yeah.
how you pointed out that your best ideas may not always come sitting in your office. I
Yeah.
love the idea of getting away from, the laptop sometimes and listening to a different type of podcast for a change,
Yeah.
or just really like immersing yourself in something that you enjoy, like cooking, for example. So that's something that I really believe the listeners can connect to. Okay. Perfect. All right. Now, the next question, I'm going to be taking notes on this. I want you to share with us like a basic, simple sales process that a solopreneur can use, and then tell us what that would look like for someone who maybe has a very small team, like maybe they have a VA, a virtual assistant helping them, or like, one or three
Mhm.
people on their team.
100%. Um, I am an advocate of keeping things all the way simplified, especially and when you're small. There are
Yes.
people who come out the gate and they want to launch like 7 products and three different coaching packages, and they want to have all the things on the shelf because they don't want to miss opportunity, they don't want to leave anyone out, they want to serve
Yeah.
as many people as possible, right? There's this
Everyone.
constant narrative of like, I work with people who have big hearts, big
Yes.
ambitions for people beyond themselves, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And they just don't, they can't fathom, you know, doing big things by keeping things really small and simple. But they,
Yes.
and yet there are so many examples of that. And
Yeah.
so I
Okay.
like to teach a very simple framework,
Okay.
four-part framework for
Okay.
solopreneurs, small businesses, small online business owners. They are the 4 I's of relationship building. The
Okay.
first I is to impress.
I like that.
The second I is to inspire.
Hmm.
The third is to influence. And the fourth is to invite.
I love that. Got to
So
have an
let's think
invitation
of,
at the end.
right, right. And that's really important because I think that oftentimes I connect with people who, again, are very purpose driven, multi-passionate, big-hearted, and sales or selling or charging for what they do somehow feels completely at odds
Yeah.
with their intention for service and servant leadership.
Yes.
And the thing is, you can't show up for someone and be what they need or what they deserve from you if you're not
Hmm.
well, if your
Yeah.
bills aren't paid, if you don't have your health care in check, et cetera, et
That's
cetera.
so true.
And in the context of capitalism, you need the capital to make
That's
that
right.
happen, right? And
Yeah.
let's not forget that the goal of a business, I say, is 2 things. Number one, to generate revenue, and number two, to create opportunities,
Yeah.
jobs, collaborations, etc.
Absolutely.
Um, and so let's think about what this means practically, from a
Okay.
day-to-day sort of standpoint. When I'm talking about what it means to impress, starting from the very top of the framework, we're talking about your contribution as an entrepreneur, as an expert, as an intellect, as a creative, etc.
Okay.
And we want to look at all the opportunities for you to contribute. We're
Mhm.
not at this point, we're not withdrawing. We're making deposits into our
Mhm.
social capital account, if you will. We're
Mhm.
not ready to make withdrawals just yet.
Okay.
So we're going to make good deposits through the Facebook groups that we engage in. We're going
Mhm.
to commit ourselves to being that go-to person, that
Mhm.
subject matter expert, the
Yes.
person who's just got that answer, knows that thing, that process, that tool. That's just the person that we have come to know in this Facebook group as just the reliable and dependable person who's got the answer.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. That is about your
Yes.
contribution. That is not about dropping links or,
Right.
slyly, self-promoting like, oh, I've been working really hard on this sales page over here. Drop link, drop link, drop link. That's not what I'm talking about in terms of contribution, right?
Okay.
Um, One of the things that I love to do and I love to teach are mega posts on Facebook. So when you are a part of a Facebook group and you're looking to be a subject matter expert,
Mhm.
think about describing in detail a process for getting something done,
Okay.
or a method or a framework, or introducing a tool with a breakdown of how to do it.
Mm.
And rather than dropping links, include screenshots of the results that you've driven using the tools, the strategies, etc.
That's an amazing tip. I love that. A mega post.
A mega
Okay.
post. That usually is favored by community managers because it's
Right.
rich content that sparks engagement and conversation within a group. And because you're not dropping links or directly telling people to go somewhere or do something, you're just teaching and
Right.
providing value, you're usually working within the confines of the community guidelines.
That's smart.
And so that is a way that you contribute, is really
Okay.
be that person in that brand that puts it all out there. And there are other ways to do this. So when you think about what that looks like on Instagram, for example, it's about commenting and engaging on other people's accounts. I
Okay.
think we often think about Instagram and having a perfectly curated grid and the stories and this and that.
Yeah.
Go comment on someone else's work. Go double
Okay.
tap on other people's content. Go be that person that amplifies and celebrates others.
Okay.
That is the way that you become an impressive person. That is how you contribute on a platform like
Okay.
Instagram.
That's smart.
One more lever, one more bonus lever as a contributor to help impress. Think about contributing to blogs or other places where your expertise is needed
Okay.
and where you can contribute in that same vein, a sort of mega post, a how to, a detailed framework, rich in examples, not link droppy or self promoty, but very
Okay.
much in the vein of teaching. That is
Okay.
another way because there are people out there, anyone who hosts a blog is always looking for contributors.
Right.
Anyone who follows a blog is always looking forward to the next update or the next piece of content.
I like that.
So you can be that contributor and start to impress people and start getting that sort of attention for your brand. So
Okay.
moving into the next phase of the framework, we impress and then we inspire.
Uh-huh.
So you've done this exercise of putting all your tentacles out there, putting all the content and contributions out there. Inevitably, people are going to click back, look at your social media profiles and your
Right.
website and all the things. And these people officially fall into your gravitational pull, into your brand's orbit. And they're
Okay.
going to keep orbiting your brand. They're going to look at what you've got going on. They're going to follow
Right.
you on social media, see how consistent you are, right? And so when we think about what it means to inspire an audience, inspire people who are in your gravitational pull, you want to be thinking about levers like going live streaming,
Okay.
right? Right. While you've got someone's attention, seize that opportunity to also be a face and an energy and a presence behind your business and your brand.
Okay.
And I say this particularly for solopreneurs and small teams, especially when you think about if someone were a fitness instructor, for example,
Mhm.
um, and you were walking by in a gym, you'd be able to see a demonstration of their work. They'd be teaching a
Mhm.
class or teaching one-on-one,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
a photographer. If you saw a photographer, setting up a scene for a wedding shoot or something
Mhm.
like that, that'd be an active demonstration of their expertise of what they do. You'd look at that person, you see how they work, you might be impressed, maybe approach them, see if they slide you a quick business card or something like
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so what's that equivalent on online and on social media? Going
Live.
live and talking about the work that you're doing, going live with a client and doing a live hot seat, or going
Okay.
live and just Q&A, or just talking about questions or trends that you're seeing, but just demonstrate that you know what you know and that you're
Right.
good at what you do.
Oh,
We need to think about that opportunity to inspire audiences. And if that is something that is like way off the deep end for you, you're like, Luis, I don't swim in 6 foot waters. I just splash in the 3 foot side of the pool, right?
with waiters on.
Right, exactly, exactly. No judgment. There's a
Yeah.
lever for you to pull as well. There's a strategy for everybody to thrive, truly. You can think about master classes and opt-ins, right? So whether it's, the kind of content that you put together, guides, ebooks, automated master classes and things like that, those are also things that help
Okay.
to inspire your audiences once they have fallen into your gravitational pull and into your orbit.
Okay.
Um, and think about as well any sort of behind the scenes content, no matter how you want to deliver it, whether it's in your weekly emails or on your social media, but including people in your process and in your journey. That's another
Mm,
way to inspire people. If they can see themselves in you and
yeah.
see themselves doing what you're doing and walking that same path, that
Okay.
is an act of inspiration. That's going to build that trust,
Yeah.
and it's going to open up folks to the third part of the framework, which is to allow themselves to be influenced by you. So when we think
Okay.
about what it means to be an influencer, we think of like, the person who gets on cameras, like showing all the things, pushing the promotion codes and doing all the things, right?
Right.
Like, that is not what I mean by being influential.
Okay.
When you're talking about influence, it's about directly engaging with people. And this is the part that many people have an aversion to. They want
Okay.
to do the automations, they want to schedule
Right.
the social media posts, they want to do anything to avoid getting on a phone call with somebody and practicing self advocacy and
Yeah.
introducing the things that they do and how they help, right?
Oh,
But we cannot call ourselves influential truly until someone is willing to let their hair down,
yeah.
have a moment with you, and direct with you, and engage with you directly. And
Oh,
so when I think
yeah.
practically what it means to be sort of influential, it's about that direct contact with people. So think
Okay.
about those weekly emails that you send.
Right.
That is a very intimate sort of connection with people. That's outside of any algorithm or any
Right.
sort of public space. You are in that inbox with that person and they're reading your message, and right above it is a message from Nana, and right below that is a bill
Right.
from their cable company, and you, while you're while they're actively looking through these messages, you're sliding in with a hey, I'm here,
That's
right?
right.
And we
Okay.
need to honor that. We need to honor the sort of intimacy of that communication channel and how influential we can be when we do it thoughtfully and consistently.
Oh, that's so good. And I think that is sending out, being consistent and sending out a weekly email. That's something I think that many people don't even realize
Mhm.
how close you are to your client when you're doing that. Like I love the example of that's the email
Yeah,
right below grandma's or nana's. I
yeah,
love that.
it's real.
Yeah.
That's really real. And one of the things that I like to advocate relative to email, I think so many people get caught up on like, oh, my email list is so small. I only have 100 people on
Yeah.
my email list. I only have
Okay.
200 people on my email list. I'm like, cool. Do you have 200 customers? Did
Yeah.
all 200 people on your email list invest with you? And
Mhm.
if the answer is no, you still got work to do. You don't
Right.
deserve 2,000 more people on your email list because you haven't really loved up on the 200 people you got right
Oh, you're preaching. This is so good.
now. Right.
You don't deserve the 200 until
Right.
that's right.
Right.
Until
You
you
got to
are
show up for these
you
people,
do,
right? They
right?
put their contact information on the line. I think people get so caught up in numbers and, status and, 10xing, 5xing their results or
Yes.
whatever. It's like, that's cool. But did you know that if your email list is only 100 people and you delivered $1,000 worth of value, then you would have a six-figure business if everyone bought
Yeah,
from you, right?
that
You
is,
don't need the 1,000 people on your email list.
you don't. Those are vanity metrics. That's so true. But it's hard to get people away from that narrative, I think, of like
Hmm.
wanting the thousands on the email list. But that
Hmm.
example you just said, $1,000 product, 100 people, everybody bought. Yeah, that's powerful. This is good. This
And
is
that changes how people show up. So when I talk about like
right.
what does it mean to be influential, right? That consistency in that inbox, that
Yeah.
consistency in the kind of content that you deliver. We always gravitate towards people, or we listen to people and we trust people who
Yeah.
tend to put out content that seems to speak like just to us, and just to
Right.
us in the right moment or when we're going through the right thing.
Yes.
And you can arrive at that place where you're delivering that kind of content, the right timing, the right positioning, everything, when you're engaging with people and you're listening.
That's right.
Being that attuned with people, being influential is being a good listener, not
That's
about
right.
what you're standing and doing on your soapbox doing, right? It's about how good
Mhm.
you listen. And
Yeah.
so, then we start to move from the realm of influence and we start
Mhm.
to extend invitations,
Mhm.
right? So as people are engaging with us in the email and giving us the feedback on the content that we're putting out, then we start to move into the realm of inviting them into a conversation directly with us.
Okay.
That is a matter of getting into those DMs if you
Okay.
have engaged with that person that way.
Okay.
If you've engaged with them on email, I am a strong advocate of tools like Video Ask, where you can get
Okay.
away from typing emails, get away from those automations, and really start to personalize your engagement with that person. So if you
Mhm.
put out an email one week and that person responds to you and says, "Hey, Christal, like I just love, love, love that point that you made. It really
Mhm.
spoke to me."
Mhm.
You can then extend an invitation, respond with a video ask rather than writing a long email or having them sit and read through something, right? Drop
Right.
a link to a video that says, "Hey, so and so, thank you so much for responding to my email. You made
Yeah.
my day. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate your feedback. It sounds like you're working through X, Y, and Z. These are
Mhm.
things that I can absolutely help you with. If you need anything at all, check out this resource I have. And by
Yeah.
the way, if you just want to talk it out with me, click the link that you see or click the button you see on the screen. Let's just talk it out and let's just get you
Yeah.
what you need to get you to the next place, right?
Interesting.
That is how we start to really, as a business of one or
Mhm.
as a small team, right? And when we focus on not doing all the things, but doing one thing exceptionally well and
Mhm.
having conversations over and over
Yeah.
about doing that one thing, that starts to move the needle dramatically. It's
Yeah.
about letting go of that compulsion or whatever you've been told about always being on, always be producing, always being busy
Right.
and doing all the things
Yeah.
and just getting really hyper focused. Am I impressing? Am I inspiring?
Mhm.
Have I influenced? Have I really been an advocate for this person such
Yeah.
that I've earned an opportunity to invite them to a conversation with me?
I love this process. It is so powerful, and I really hope everyone you're taking notes because I definitely did. And I have to say that, Luis, you do practice what you preach because I've received a couple of your video ask emails where you reply with the video, and I love
Yeah.
that. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I thank you very
Yeah.
much, my friend. I try to do that, yeah, at least once a month, right? Like
Yeah.
I am a person running a business that serves other human beings, right? Like there needs to be some kind of human contact. And we
Right.
have these tools for personalizing the way that we
Yes.
engage. Why not leverage them?
Yeah.
I wish I had these kinds of tools, 5 years ago when I got started. Like I'd be further along
Yeah,
now.
that's right. That's so true. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Okay, so now I know that there's probably someone listening who they've never had like a business coach or business strategist like yourself. So for someone who's completely new to the idea of that, what could they or should they expect when working with you?
Yeah, I think that let's talk about like what it takes to even get to a place to consider, engaging with a coach or with,
Perfect.
someone that would actually guide you through this process. I think the
Perfect.
first thing that we have to really sit with is a dissatisfaction in our revenues. And I
Okay.
want to
Yeah.
invite everyone to just consider that you will always be dissatisfied with your revenues, right? You could be making all the money and you still gonna want to make some more. You
That's
can grow
right.
by X percent, you still want another percent,
Another
and
percent.
right, and that's
True.
that's really real. But I
Yeah.
think that, and I say that to just kind of qualify, that real need or dissatisfaction with revenue. But it is important. That's the first thing you got to look at. Like,
Okay.
am I really firing on all cylinders,
Yeah.
reaching my maximum potential, getting all the support that I need? Like, really taking that inventory.
Yeah.
And then also looking at some of your goals as well. Like, number
Mhm.
one, are you seeing consistent revenues month to month?
Okay.
Another thing is, do you have the kind of schedule that you desire? Like, really, truly.
Yes. I'm so big on that. I'm so happy you said that. Yes. Yes.
When I design business, I design it hand in hand with lifestyle. I'm
Yeah.
very big on that. I am very big on that,
So
right? We
important.
look for all the support that we need to buy ourselves time, comfort, grace, space, etc. We've got
Yeah.
to take care of our health. Finding that work life,
Mhm.
harmony is very, very important. Finding that time with friends and family,
Right.
that's very important. Having the time and the space to take care of your health, hit
Yeah.
your appointments, hit the, home gym or whatever it is that you've
Right.
got going on. Those things are really, really important.
Yeah.
And so, when you think about kind of like, are all these things in check for you? If the answer is no, then that's a signal that you need support. And when you think about, okay, like what should I be expecting from
Mhm.
a coach, or
Yeah.
what kind of questions should I be asking, or what should I be looking for in terms of like, how do I know this person knows their stuff? How do I
Right.
know they're going to have my back?
Yeah.
How do I know that they're not just like, going to regurgitate something they read on a blog somewhere else, right? I think that when you're working with the coach, it's really important to think about, number one is, whatever they are working with you on, whatever the collaboration is it personalized,
Okay.
right? Are they really focusing on like
That's
your
perfect.
goals, your personality, your
Yeah.
style? Yeah, like it can't just be like, oh, where I'm going to come in and, as a coach, completely change someone. That's not it.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
how do we play to your strengths, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we take that moment to understand like what's working, what's not,
Right.
and where do you flow, where do you get stuck?
Yeah.
So that personalization is important. And I
Okay.
think the other thing is focusing things on skill. I am someone that, I beyond like, yes, we can, when we're engaging in, one-on-one contract or whatever, we can bake in creative services if you need things implemented, created, copywriting, graphic design, all those things.
Yes. Okay.
But when I'm engaging with someone, I'm focused on the skills. Are
Yeah.
you someone who feels confident enough to stand in front of an audience that doesn't know you
Yeah.
and introduce yourself, clearly articulate who you're there for, what it is that you
Mhm.
do, how you deliver on those results, and how soon people can expect them, right?
Yeah.
That is a skill. That
Mhm.
is not something that I can just, get a graphic designer to fix for you, get a
Exactly.
developer to fix for you, right? And so
Right.
when you're
Yeah.
thinking about like, when is it time to work with a coach, or what should I be looking for, you want to be working with someone who's focused on your skill development,
Mhm.
right? Not just the deliverables, but the actual, like, that confidence and that resilience that you desire and you deserve, that can be for you, that can happen for you.
Yeah.
But you've got to work with someone who's going to really hold you accountable to that, not just hit you with a bunch of templates and,
Right.
but like really, really hold you accountable, hold space.
Oh, that's perfect.
um, and I think that when you're thinking about like a business coach, you
Mhm.
have to be working with someone who's revenue focused. If they can't
Mhm.
sit down with you, just like I did a few minutes ago, I said 100 people on your email list, $1,000 offer,
Yes.
100 customers for the year, that is your six figure in revenue right there. If
Yeah.
someone cannot help you figure out how to package that service or
Yes.
that product at that $1,000 price point, and how
Yeah.
to operationalize it, support it, sustain it, etc.,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And then also help you figure out the numbers quarter over quarter about how you're going to hit these targets and operationalize it, et cetera. If
Yeah.
someone is not in a position to walk you through that, then that may not be the person for you. Because
I
again, remember,
totally agree.
one of the first things that will prompt you to consider working with a coach is a dissatisfaction with revenue. So you want
Right.
to work with somebody who can tackle
Who
those
can
numbers for
right.
you.
That makes total sense. You're so right about that.
Uh,
These are things that I know that people have like a better understanding of what they should, you know, what are some things they should be going through in their business to like as a red flag for it's time to work with the coach? And I
Mhm.
love what you ended with about they have to be revenue focused and be able to get you a plan for those goals. Like a business coach isn't just to like encourage you.
Mhm.
It's more that the right
Mhm.
coach is more than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. I love that.
Absolutely, my friend. Yeah. And I can go on and on about some of the different ways that you could collaborate with the coach, right? I get in the weeds with my clients. Like
Mhm.
if they want me to shadow their sales calls and
Yeah.
immediately give them feedback afterwards, I'm there.
Oh
Especially when we're in the middle of a
wow.
big negotiation or something like that. Like if they want that tactical sort of
Yeah.
hands-on feedback, we go through that. Or they can send me their calls. I'll listen in on their calls and I'll pinpoint exactly where they hooked or missed
Wow.
and how to reframe things for their next call, refine their call scripts, etc. So I get in the numbers, I get in the weeds, right? Some people don't
Yeah.
want that. Some people just
Yeah.
want someone who's really high level strategy. Like
Mhm.
I have these things. How does the neck bone connect to the elbow bone to the bank deposit bone, right? Like some people just really need that higher level strategy, right? And that's also important. But I think that you have to be clear about what you need and what would help you and
Right.
bring that forward when you're engaging with someone and see what their willingness is to support you in that way.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. I love that. I love that so much. Okay, this has been such a wonderful conversation and
I know.
I have learned so much, but before I let you go, I thought I'd have a little fun and I have 3 rapid fire questions that I want to
Ooh, here
ask
we
you.
go. Here we
All right. Question
go.
number 1. When you're flying, why do you prefer the aisle seat? I usually find that's where the luggage hits me in the head when somebody like, why do you want to sit on the aisle? Why, Louise?
uh, I have a strategy. I have a strategy. So I
Okay.
first of all, I try to make sure that I carry something that fits in the seat under me. I try to avoid needing
Okay.
overhead space, right? So I
Yeah.
let everybody else get on first, and then I swerve into my aisle seat. I'm one of the last people. Like they're calling my name over the intercom. Like, where are you, Mr. Baez? Like this plane needs to go. And so I swerve up in that aisle seat. I like to be seen when I walk up on the flight. Not just kidding. Kidding, not kidding. Because you just never know who you're gonna meet. But I like to sit in the aisle seat because I have this like I could sit on that flight and never need to use the restroom, but I have an anxiety about sitting in the window and having to be
Okay.
that person that interrupts everyone else's naps
Okay.
so that I can swerve out, and get my little snacks and my water, whatever it is that I need. I don't want to be that. I don't mind if someone else is that person. I just don't want to be that
You don't want to be that person.
person.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Question number 2. I know you're an avid reader. What
Right.
book is on your nightstand right now?
Right now, I am reading The Young Lords: A Radical History. It's
Okay.
about the Young Lords organization. They were young radicals in the 60s. They were
Mhm.
heavily influenced by the Black Panther Party, and they empowered the Puerto Rican, Latino, and Black communities in New York City, Chicago, and other cities through educational programs, medical programs, and
Mm.
things. And I have been reading this book and just reflecting on how can my business be that kind of a force for good,
Yeah.
to empower
Yeah.
the next generation of leadership so
Mhm.
that our communities are properly served, taken care of, loved. Because this is one thing I firmly believe, especially as someone who grew up in poverty in the South Bronx and is now a
Mhm.
business owner. I firmly believe that everyone deserves an excellent customer experience, period.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so, how do I empower the next generation of leadership to create these social enterprises that also create amazing experiences?
Yeah.
That's where my head has been. So that's the book on the nightstand. Otherwise, I'd be reading, something in the vein of like self-help and
Yeah.
business
Mhm.
mindset. But
Right.
I let go of that and I picked up a history book. And this is one of the things I mentioned earlier, like always being infusing new
Yeah.
ideas into your mind. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Okay. Let me have to check that out. Young Lords of
The Young Lords: A Radical History.
a Radical History. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Last question.
Sure.
Choose one word to describe you as a child. Just one.
Loner.
Owner. Okay. Okay.
I was that kid, through just like bullying and feeling out of place,
Mhm.
or just being the only gay kid in the room or whatever.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
as a kid was just, I was in Narnia, literally, head in the books, nose in
Yeah.
the books,
Yeah.
reading the chronicles, and kind of doing that escape in the New York Public Library to stay away from folks. So I was a bit of a loner as a kid.
Yeah.
I was going to say nerd. I think I've actually become a nerd at an older age.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. Oh man. Well, this has been like a fabulous conversation. And I love that we had fun, but more than
Yeah.
anything, really delivered in this conversation. And I know that so many people are going to be better off. So thank you so much for letting me take over your podcast and put you in the hot seat. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for coming ready with these questions. You went in, you held space, you made me feel very just comfortable and safe, and I thank you for
Good.
that. And yeah, I love you and I need you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luis.